So just to remind you again, what is extinction? And here we're talking about extinction as an operant procedure. Is there extinction in classical conditioning? Yes, indeed. It means we're going to stop pairing the conditional stimulus with the unconditional stimulus. Basically, we're going to have trials where, let's imagine you're Pavlov doing that original research. You're going to ring the bell and not follow it with any food for the dog. Right? That would be a classical extinction procedure. More commonly, we're talking about extinction, right, as an operant procedure. That's what I was just talking about on that humane hierarchy. And it means a previously reinforced behavior is no longer followed by that reinforcing consequence. I often see extinction in this operant sense as being the decision a trainer or a teacher makes to say, oh, I didn't realize that my reaction to the behavior has been actually reinforcing it. I intended my reprimand or my attention or my scolding or my mild leash correction. I intended that to suppress the behavior. But in observing what actually happens to the behavior, I see that, in fact, my reprimanding that child for tapping me to get attention actually has resulted in more frequent tapping me and more intense tapping. I think my reprimands have actually served to be a reinforcer, so I'm going to stop it, right? It's that intentional breaking of the contingency between that misbehavior and that reinforcement, right? You don't get to decide as the teacher whether your reaction is reinforcing or not. It's always from the learner's perspective. We just want to keep reminding ourselves of that. It's easy to forget. I like this idea that extinction is an intentional schedule of non-reinforcement. We're going to talk about schedules of reinforcement next. And so it helps me as I'm looking at that rather dry topic. It helps me a lot to say, wait, extinction is actually part of that discussion of schedules of reinforcement. Extinction is me deciding we will never reinforce that behavior. No human in that animal's contact can ever provide reinforcement for that behavior. Now, we get into a conversation about, well, it's not always the human who's delivering the reinforcement, it's the environment. And this is kind of an interesting distinction because it implies that humans aren't part of the environment for the animal, and we are. We're just one subset of that, right? So it brings us back to this conversation about how can we set up our learner's environment so that the environment is not giving opportunities for that reinforcement, right? It puts us in that role of that sort of designer of the animal's environment, right? That choice architect. Just let me make sure we've covered that last bullet point on the slide, which is, again, to remember extinction really is not going to be a process that's going to erase a misbehavior, get rid of it from the animal's repertoire. If that behavior has been functional in that animal's learning history before you started intervening. So extinction is usually the humans deciding they will no longer reinforce the behavior through their attempts to reprimand or suppress the behavior. And so what you'll find is when you stop doing that inadvertent human reinforcement, the behavior will go back to baseline levels where the rest of the environment had been maintaining it through some change. So it's just a reminder that I think we sometimes put too much faith in extinction to be a process to get rid of behavior in a really humane way. I think it's not always completely benign, and I don't think it erases behavior in that way that we often hope with our fingers crossed, right?